Yeah, you get all the last minute things.
Good morning. Good morning. Ross, do you need a couple of minutes? Are we okay to start?
We don't open and take a quick break.
Open up.
Open up for 2
Go on, he
minutes
said
break?
no.
No, you said yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay, 1 minute, 2 minutes.
What? Until Sam sits down.
Sit down. Use the evaluator.
Why did I keep early?
Thank you, yeah.
So you got Martin is volunteering?
Yeah, I am. I'm good.
Martin, evaluate number 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Martin.
I thought you needed two of that.
Oh,
Evaluate Stephany.
please. Thank you.
We good?
Yes.
I guess
I've been about
thank
that ticket now.
you. Good morning, Lake Mary Toastmasters. I call this meeting to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phone. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster this morning, Mr. Toastmaster Gus D.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Toastmasters. And no guest, I guess. Today the theme I chose for our Toastmaster is based on the word love. Love is the greatest gift in the world. Love can be spoken in any language. Even though we watch Super Bowl on Sunday, sports is one of those things that combine people all over the world, but love is stronger than that. Even though you may not like the sports, but because you love the people, you sat in the room, you had the beverages, you had the food, you probably laughed and made jokes about it. Love is very strong. Love one another, we hear about that all the time. So that's the theme I have chosen for today. Even though you may have heard about the love languages from an American rock band called Stuart McLambert. He actually had a band name in Raleigh, North Carolina called the Love Language. But that's not what I'll be basing on today. Also, you may have had the other song by John Mayer called Love is a Verb. You know, it's another upbeat song. My conversation with you this morning will be talking about 5 love languages. And I based this on Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. And I'll be giving you all of those before the end of today, the 5 love languages. Interestingly, he also wrote books that apply to each one of you. He wrote the love languages for the military edition. But still better, he wrote one of the books that said the love language for singles. Does that apply to us?
Very thin.
So I'll be talking about the love languages today. Let me make some adjustments in our agenda here. We have some of our evaluators are not here. For evaluator number 1, Kerri has agreed to evaluate Rich Massa's speech. And also we have, for Stephany's speech, we have Martin Bell will be doing that. So thank you for making those.
What about 2?
Erica's speech will be evaluated by Alexandra. Hadi's speech, I'm sorry. Thank you for helping through this. Hadi's speech, Alexander will be doing that. And Rick's speech will be done by Kerri. And third speaker, Stephany, will be done by Martin Bell. Thank you very much. We got that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, in order to help us continue today in our program, we're going to have my technical table here who's going to help me through this. I will start by introducing our grammarian for the day, Jessica Bishka.
As grammarian, it is my function to select the word of the day to help build members' vocabularies. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. Others may gently rap on the table when they hear a member use the word. And today's word is infatuate. The definition is to inspire with a foolish or extravagant love or admiration. And the example I have is he became infatuated with his beautiful new girlfriend and started missing class to spend time with her. If you do not use the word of the day and you speak as a 25-cent fine, I will be paying attention. In addition, I will be listening to any errors in grammar as well as excellent word selections. I will also be noting any colorful thoughts or phrases members might use. Thank you. And I will have my report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Following the grammarian will be our accountant, Laurie Richards.
Morning. As on counter, my function is to listen for filler words such as you know, so, okay, probably great also, and any other audible fillers. I'll be noting if any members performing double clutches, which means to say things twice, like this means. I'll also include things that may be distracting, such as with lip smacks, and I'll present my report at the end of the meeting.
Get so infatuated in preparing for Toastmasters that you need to keep on time. And so for our timer today is Mike Hughes. Michael.
That's what my infatuation would be in the timer. Both timer speeches. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. It would be all now and throw the card at you. So, table topics, you got 30 seconds, 1 minute, and a minute and a half. Then you get the card thrown at you. So you report when I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to get started with our prepared speeches for today. Our first speaker will be speaking from the Competent Communication Manual number 9. Persuade listeners to adopt a viewpoint or idea or take some action. Appeal to the audience interest. Use logic and emotion to support the position. Avoid using notes. What we think is sometimes what we are, and if you listen and learn from the ancients, which I hope we'll get in this speech, will help us to change our mind. And the title of the speech is, What the BLEEP Were You Thinking? Please help me to welcome Rich Massa.
I think, therefore I am. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members and guests, today I want to show you that the thoughts in your mind are not just mere images. They can become physical in our universe, and they can create events. And I'm going to show this by using 3 key points. I'm going to show a connection by our spiritual leaders over the past 3,000 years. I'm going to show scientific research that thoughts have an effect on the physical universe. And finally, I'm going to give you a personal testimony that's so powerful that if that does not convince you, or at least create a possibility in your mind, then I'm convinced that person is not open to possibilities. Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism, has said, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. Buddha taught what we think, we become. Now, I want you to take a second right now and really think about, what does the word become mean? Well, according to Merriam Dictionary, the word become, the definition of become is to come into existence. That's what creation is coming into existence. Now, you might say, Rich, those are just the Eastern philosophies. Well, in the Christian Bible, Proverbs 23:7 states, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. And maybe this is not enough for you. Maybe just not religion, philosophy, and spirituality is enough for you to be convinced that our thoughts are powerful and can become things in our physical universe. So I brought scientific research. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Jersey, and I'm Italian. I am meant, and I am born to persuade people. So I looked up some research. Does the power of thought have an observation or have an effect on the physical universe? So Dr. Emoto used words on water, and he observed that each of the water crystals became a different figure according to the word. For instance, if you look here, the word compassion, positive words, thank you, wisdom, became beautiful crystals. This is a before and after picture of a Buddhist prayer. On the bottom, if you see, heavy metal, the music heavy metal, I will kill you, and you fool, became distorted. Do me a favor and just pass that around. Now you might argue, Rich, those are words, those are not thoughts. Well, that's okay, I got more for you. Physicists performed something called the double slit experiment, also known as the Young experiment. They put an electron through a slit, and it formed a pattern on the wall. Let me pass that around. But they noticed that when it was unobserved, that it formed different, it did not have a pattern on the wall. That under human observation, the electrons were affected. When it was observed, they acted as particles, but unobserved, it acted as waves. The physicists reluctantly and skeptically admitted that under human observation, the electrons acted and behaved differently than when unobserved at all. They actually admitted that the electrons behaved as if we thought they should behave. Now that convinced me that the power of thought affects our physical universe. Now maybe that's not enough for you. Maybe our spiritual leaders aren't enough, and maybe the scientific evidence is not enough. So I'm going to give you some personal testimony. The way I came about this, ladies and gentlemen, is I read the book called The Secret. Has anybody read The Secret? Please raise your hand. Okay. It's by Rhonda Byrne. And in the book, it stated that thoughts become things. So I started doing some testing. I asked the universe, I want all green lights, and I got all green lights. Now that's a silly experiment that could be a coincidence. But the story I'm about to tell you, in my opinion, is a miracle. If you guys don't know, my mother passed October 3rd, 2014. She was manic depressive, she was OCD, she had bipolar, she was bipolar. We lost my father 2 years ago. So, she took a bottle of pills and tried to end her life. We went to the hospital and we fought the doctors. The doctors tried to keep her on machines, and we knew my mother did not want that. So we started praying as a family, but I knew and I had believed in the power of thought. I read that if one person has a thought, it's powerful, but when many has the same thought, it becomes exponentially more powerful. So I went on Facebook, and I asked everyone on Facebook, please send your prayers and give me your thoughts to please help us fight to put our mother into hospice so she could die with respect. The next day, we were supposed to have the meeting up with the hospice nurse. It was a very vivid memory I had. Her name was supposed to be Valerie. Well, Valerie couldn't make it that day. Now, I want you to think back on Facebook. Dozens of people shared that status. So not only did my friend see it, thousands upon thousands of people thought that thought. Marie showed that day. She said Valerie could not make it. Something came up. We told Marie that our mother was Jehovah's Witness. She didn't believe in blood transfusions. She was bipolar and manic depressive. She says, I completely understand. My son is bipolar and my brother is Jehovah's Witness. What are the chances that this woman who was supposed to come and help my mother did not show, and the next day someone who completely understood her situation came to help my mother? And she says, I'm going to go review the evidence, and if I feel it's necessary, I'm going to fight for you. And she did. We got our mother into hospice, and she died with respect. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've been taught for thousands of years that our thoughts are powerful and can become physical in our universe. I showed you scientific evidence that the power of thought can affect events in our physical universe. Now, that does not convince you. If my personal testimony does it not at least create the possibility in your mind, then I'm convinced that you're not open to possibilities. So I'm going to ask you a very important question. What do you think? Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.
Time out, 1 minute on the clock, please.
Where do you want?
Yeah, so actually,
Yes.
select the title.
1 minute up? Who is timing the timer? I can only do that
Just
sometimes.
thinking positive thoughts.
Let me give you the first two of the 5 love languages. Now the first one that Gary Chapman talks about is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation are very powerful. How do you learn to appreciate someone? We do that with our speeches. So the first of these 5 love languages is words of affirmation. You can use this not only in marriage, you can use it in business. I think last week we had a speech where we were told to be able to be thankful on how we express our feelings to people. Words of affirmation, spoken word, praise people for what they've done. We do affirmation here each time when people use the word of the day. This is some affirmation that will say, you use the word infatuate. Affirmation. Yeah, you affirm me for saying that. The second love language is acts of service. Some people are just good at doing kind actions. They serve other people. The setup, I think our Sergeant at Arms role is an act of service, wherein you are able to give of yourself to others. You help them get what they want. There are many activities that you can show people. So those are the first two, words of affirmation and acts of service. Our next speaker is speaking from the Competent Communication Manual. You'll be doing number 7, research your topic. You need the power of persuasion. Research your topic. Collect information from numerous sources. Carefully support the points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations gathered through the research. So for that, I want us to welcome our next speaker who will be speaking. Was Jesus kidding? Please help me welcome Hadi.
Was Jesus kidding when he said that we could create better miracles than he created? Very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I've been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I'm going to the Father. 2 more quotes. Could it be that in the Bible it says that we are gods? We are not. He says, Jesus answered, "Is it not written in your law, I have said you are gods?" Referring to the Old Testament. Or in Psalms, "You are gods, you are all sons of the Most High." The creation of miracles. Since the 19th century, there's been a New Thought movement in the United States. And the New Thought movement is all about creating our reality, manifesting our reality, as Richard just talked about, as Rich just talked about. So how do we create such miracles? What is involved here? So I'm going to talk about one aspect of creating miracles, the main aspect that law of attraction proponents support, and that's visualization. So first off, I give you Kerri Green, who's a British entrepreneur. She created the Female Entrepreneur Association. She is a big proponent of visualization. She visualized creating a successful organization, and it happened. She visualized having Michael Gerber, who wrote the E-Myth, on her magazine cover, and a bunch of other top entrepreneurs and authors, and all of them were on her magazine covers. She visualized speaking at the House of Commons, which is the lower house in a British Parliament, and that happened. The House of Lords, which was the upper house of the Parliament, and that happened. And also attending Buckingham Palace. Jack Nicklaus, famous golfer, more than 100 tournament victories, over $5.7 million in winnings. This is what he had to say. "I never hit a shot, not even in practice, without a very sharp, in-focus picture of it in my head." And lastly, myself. I visualized getting my residency on June 3rd, 2013. I've spoken about that before, and it happened on that exact date. I visualized passing my comprehensive exams. I found out 5 weeks before the exam that I was going to take it. Normally, students study 4 to 6 months. The pass rate is 50%. And I had 5 weeks. Of those 5 weeks, I studied around 28 days. And I wrote one of the best papers in 20 years using visualization. And thirdly, to test the law of attraction, I wanted to test something extremely difficult. So I thought, let me visualize a purple butterfly. I've never seen one before. Let me try that. Oddly enough, within 48 hours, I saw a picture of a purple butterfly on Facebook. So some quotes for you. Napoleon Hill, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve." A very famous quote. We have the Terminator. "Close your eyes for a second. Imagine the body of your dreams. Now open your eyes and get after it." Lastly, Tony Robbins. "Whatever you hold in your mind on a consistent basis is exactly what you'll experience in your life." So I've heard from all these gurus telling me that if I visualize what I want and if I add emotion and all that stuff, it's gonna become real. But I tend to be a skeptic. I'm a trained scientist, and I'm one of the best critical reasoning people out there. Just being honest. So I scoured hundreds of articles over the past week or so. Here's one from Greeks, Pavlidou and Doganis, Journal of Excellence 2008. They looked at a number of swimmers and they put them through some mental exercises which included relaxation, visualization, setting goals, and so on. This is what they had to say. There was a significant increase in performance and confidence of the swimmers who went through these processes. Next up, this is a very famous paper. Driscoll, Copper, and Morgan, the Journal of Applied Psychology, back in 1994. Most researchers contend that mental practice is an effective means of enhancing performance, but there are some issues. So for example, what is mental practice? It's so loosely defined. Is it visualization? Is it concentration? Do we meditate before we visualize? There are a lot of things that go into it. So what they did was they conducted a meta-analysis. And what a meta-analysis is they looked at a whole number of studies and analyzed them all together. And they found that mental practice has a positive and significant effect on performance. Lastly, Tiller, Dibble, and Fandel, Stanford University professors, the discoveries they found shake the foundation of science as we know it. They found that the results show that surprisingly robust effects of intention on material systems. What they did was they got people to think, they stored these thoughts in electrical circuits, and then they used the electrical circuits to change the pH levels of water. Holy visualization, Batman. So let me skip to the limitations. If there is a visualization effect, it may be very, very minuscule. It may be so small that it doesn't really have an impact on our life. The other thing is, there are various definitions of visualization. For example, visualization may just be imagination. What if I'm not good at visualizing? I'm not a visual person. Maybe I just imagine it. I imagine the sound of it or the feel of it. Does that count as visualization? What about mental rehearsal? If I'm just training myself like that I'm going to do a certain movement, does that count as visualization? There are competing intentions. What if I want to go right and Rich wants to go left? Who's going to win? Competing intentions. Let's say I want to make $1 million, he wants me to lose $1 million. Who's going to win? There's a lot of poor or non-scientific methodology used in the research. Inconsistent results depending on the methodology and depending on the circumstances. Is it different for sports versus business people, for example? Varying techniques depending on the person and other important factors. For example, is emotion a major factor? Most people say yes. What about faith? What about action? Of course, we have to do something. So here's the take home. Research is mixed, but overall there's a net positive effect that visualization does produce results. Play with different visualization methods and see what works for you personally. Since we change over time, what worked before may not work today. And stay open and constantly experiment with different visualization methods. Do what feels natural. If you're not a clear visualization thinker, add in some audio, add in a sense of touch or a sense of smell. Do whatever feels best to you. Thank you.
1 minute. And the clock, please, 1 minute. Now, entertaining speaker. The entertaining speech is using humor or drama from your personal experience. Organize entertaining speech, deliver in an interpretive manner. I have heard Stephany speak or read stories here, that were just full of drama and excitement, sometimes confusion, but she would always leave it anticipating and she would get you there. Stephany is a distinguished Toastmaster. That means she's given many speeches right here in this club and other clubs. So help me welcome Stephany Byrne as she gives the distinguished speech to be here.
Tell me, what acronym strikes fear in the hearts of the most stalwart of people? You know this. Jorge told us about it last week. Come on, folks, who is it? The IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, I'm a New Yorker. I fear no man, woman, or child, but this agency fills me with dread and foreboding. Back in the 70s, when I had very little monetary sense and even less money, I found a way to actualize more money in my paycheck than I was actually due. First mistake. I did this for a while, until one day a little piece of paper came, letter came. Not overly concerned, I ignored it. Second mistake. I should have come clean then, fessed up, and done what was right. Instead, I made them come after me. Big mistake. These people are relentless. They pursued me like an infatuated stalker. Crisscrossing counties, states, cities. Mind you, this is before the day of computers. Yet these people employed tactics that would make a bounty hunter look like an Eagle Scout. They tracked me, hounded me, harassed. They even sent Treasury agents to my mother's house in the South Bronx at night to arrest me. I was afraid to go to the mail. I was afraid every time a yellow slip came. Going to the post office, you have to sign for it. I would beg them, just show me the zip code. Where is it from? I would write on the letter, snatch it and write deceased and give it back. Every person I saw coming in a suit, I thought was a Treasury agent. Finally, I got tired of it. It's time to come clean. Made an appointment one December, right before Christmas. I was going in for a face-to-face. Get my business handled. Too late. When I got there, they informed me that a garnishment had already gone to my job. This is an event that triggers termination where I worked. Oh my God, what am I going to do? They say, yeah, we sent this to so-and-so. I said, jubilation, I didn't work there anymore. I said, they said, well, where do you work? And I said, what are you, nuts? I had to buy more time. I took off running down the corridor and they were running right behind me. They chased me into an elevator and the only way I got rid of them, I threatened to take the elevator to the top floor and jump off the roof. I said, I'm gonna jump and I'm gonna tell everybody that you drove me to it. Miraculously, there was a miracle. They backed off. Temporarily. What was I going to do? I had no money. I had heard about this agency. Their powers are vast and far-reaching. Anybody here ever heard of Alphonse Capone? Notorious crook, gangster. They couldn't put him in jail for his racketeering or even murder, but they put him in jail for tax evasion. I was a nobody, yet they went after me with the same gusto as Al Capone, actor and martial artist Wesley Snipes, the Queen of Mean, Leona Helmsley, the hotel magnate. You remember her tagline? We don't pay taxes, only little people pay taxes. They put her in jail. This is what I was faced with. What was I going to do? Finally, I decided to get it over with. I had another face-to-face, different office. I was on my way in, and then I looked at what I was wearing. Oh my God, I had on a mink coat. What was I gonna do? Turned it inside out. Put my leather bags inside the shopping bags and looked like any other homeless person. I went into the office. Well, when I got through with them, they didn't even want money from me. I bought a little $50 money order along the way from a bank that I didn't bank with, of course. They pushed it back. They felt sorry for me. They didn't even want my money. They arranged payments. Finally, I paid a few times, and then they told me I didn't have to pay anymore. All they wanted was to make an example of me. I was actually one of their agents. I would tell this story repeatedly. Anyone who ever thought about cheating on their taxes would not do it once they heard the way these people went after me for guess how much money? Any guesses?
200.
You're very close. It was under $400. But the fees were astronomical. That is what I had to negotiate. And it worked. And I paid off. And it paid off for me. But was it worth it in the long run? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It took me years to straighten out this mess. I would say to anyone, stay away from these people. Stay away, far away. Don't do anything to put them on your tail. If you're flying under that radar now, if there's no amnesty period, create your own. Negotiate your terms of surrender. My final words to you, don't mess with the IRS.
1 minute on the clock, please. A minute up. Please make sure you complete those evaluations. They are very helpful for each one of us. Now it's the part where we have some questions on the table topics. Let's welcome Stephen Morgan, who will be leading us in that. Thank you. Thank you, Gus. You're all Toastmasters. You know what table topics is. So, who or what was your first infatuation, Kerri?
Not really sure. There's, I don't know. It's definitely not a person, because it was before that. It was probably my violin or playing softball and things like that when I was younger, when I was a little kid. That just, I absolutely loved. Probably, if I had to come up with something, would probably be my dollhouse. I begged for it for years. My dad finally built it for me, and I never let my friends play with it, not for anything that my parents ever said, did, whatever. It's still in my house, and my husband hates it. Weighs 100 pounds, and is about huge. So, that's probably it.
87 years ago.
or perhaps just 87 years ago. So why does language matter, Lemar?
Why does language matter? I would say the importance of communication. I've traveled around a little bit, and I would say my passion is soccer to answer that question and be able to communicate with someone when we don't speak the same language, we understood each other. So I say language is powerful.
And what words make you fall in love? Macarena.
What words make me fall in love? So much. There's a lot that I have an infatuation with, and a couple of them is dancing, church, the word love itself, hobbies, anything that makes me interested in whatever topic is being talked about, makes me just completely fall in love with the topic itself, and I can go on and on and on and on and on about the topic until there's absolutely nothing more to talk about. So.
Thank you, thank you. Let me give you the last two of the love languages. The first of the ones I gave you was words of affirmation. Make sure you use that today, even as you think about Valentine coming, but all year round. Second, acts of service. That's where you do show your love language. Some people need that. The third is receiving gifts. Some people like gifts, earrings. My girls always love jewelry, and my wife receiving gifts. And number four, quality time. Spend time with people. Quality time is very important, where you can listen and you can learn and you can affect others. And finally, the fifth one is physical touch, and you can interpret.
Thank you, Master Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Hadi. Hadi, this is a project that I remember doing myself, and it was hard because the project he was presenting today is research your topic. I'm going to start saying that, Hadi, I was infatuated with the topic, and I was looking forward to hearing more. Based on the objectives on this project, I believe that you effectively collected information about the topic from numerous sources, and you carefully supported your points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and quotes. Hadi, if I need to, if I want to see you doing this again, I would like to give you some suggestions. The opening could be greater, I guess, if you use it more variety and make it stronger, because it was a good opening, was Jesus kidding, but what I felt it was a little weak. So my suggestion to you, make it bigger next time. That's the opening of your speech. For best results, Hadi, I suggest that you define your search as narrowly possible. You had amazing material, you have amazing amount of quotes, but in my opinion were too many. My suggestion to you next time, try to narrow those for them to be more effective. And last but not least, on my suggestions, and this happened to me a lot, and I heard from Steven, when you have visual aids, you tend to talk to the visual aids, and that happened to me, and I learned that the way you do is you present the visual aids, kind of a moment of silence, a pause, and you don't break the eye contact with the audience, but just a tendency of looking at the visual aid. That's something that I would like to for you to improve next time. Hadi, to finish, I believe the use of statistic that you used was mastered specifically for this project, which is research your topic. The use of personal stories made your points and supported them. You made the speech interesting by finding the human interest side and including that information in your speech. Hadi, I'm looking forward to your next speech, and you did a great, great job. Thank you.
Speech number 3, Stephany Byrne, to be feared. I want to thank Martin Bell for evaluating Stephany, which is never easy.
Dear Stephany Bonnie Byrne.
Don't give me a letter, please.
Was everybody entertained? All right, great, I'm done. That was good. I've had the pleasure of listening to Stephany since joining Toastmasters about a year ago. And I think Stephany is either a natural or a developed storyteller. As I've listened to several of her speeches, she can just engage the audience very comfortably by relating a personal story. And as I was listening to Stephany, I was also observing the room. Everybody was very engaged. She got everybody to smile throughout and to laugh often, which was very entertaining. So I like how she opened it up with a question, the acronym, relating it to our experience of last week. I really enjoyed how she went through the story and her struggles, which are very inclusive, right? This could happen to anyone. In fact, I've got a friend who's having a little bit of struggle with the IRS right now. So it was a great topic because anyone could have troubles. Throughout the speech, you're using vivid language. A bounty hunter became an Eagle Scout. What are you, nuts? You know? You related it to others that we're familiar with. Al Capone, for anyone that remembers Wesley Snipes, a crazy story there. Fantastic with the IRS, the chase down the turnpike about a decade ago. So, Stephany, I'm struggling to find relevant and good ideas here for improvement. Honestly, I am on this particular speech. It was to entertain the audience, and you did that very well, so great. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks.
Marty?